Hi, Hi, y'all. How's it going? I know it's been a bit of time since I've done a live stream. And things have been very interesting lately. There's been many lessons learned and experiences had. Some negative, some positive. Um, and I just wanted to, give you guys a little bit of an update. Um, I have a particular goal of how I want to do this live stream. I'm not gonna share it though, but you know, I'll just say, you know, so I'm on the road, I'm traveling, and upon my last live stream, I shared that I was pushing myself out of my comfort zone to, um, go into unfamiliar territories, escape the vortex of Trenton, New Jersey, and see the world and see different spaces in this country and push myself to perform in new environments. And I'll share some of the ups and downs of that. So I tried my best to be as prepared as I could be, um being that this would be my first time kind of doing this. And mind you, like, I have Angie with me, my cat, just because, like, I didn't wanna leave her home just because I was unsure of, like, how long this was gonna be, or, like, and I just kinda wanted to go with the flow, and just explore without being so limited, like, "I have to go to this place, I have to be here at this time, and this and that." Like, luckily, I wasn't, like, boggled down by a job, so it kinda gave me the freedom to do that, and I, like, had some savings and whatnot. And so, yeah, traveling with a cat isn't really, like, ideal in most instances, but some people do. Like, people, you could take dogs everywhere. Why not take a cat? Like, I know cats are different creatures, but whatever. And she's adjusting, I'm adjusting, and we're figuring this thing out. But I think we're figuring out, like, the whole balance of seeing new places. And I'm kind of excited for her because it's one thing, yeah, sure, it might be more comfortable being in the house, but it's more of an adventure to see the world and see different spaces and stuff like that. So I'm excited from that perspective. Wow, look at all this traffic coming out of nowhere, huh? But yeah, so there's that. And and I have been, like, trying to balance, like, working on music while, like, being in new environments and stuff like that. Because I do have, like, my equipment with me, of course, because I have my, like, costumes and stuff like that, because I wanted to, like, create art, because for whatever reason, like, travel always inspires me. Like, even when I was working, at the mall or whatever before I had a car, and I would take the bus. For whatever reason, I guess, like, motion, inspires me. So when I would be on the bus, I would be writing songs and stuff like that. And even driving, like, I was writing to songs and whatnot. And, I'm just trying to figure out, like, okay, how am I gonna, like, lay down the vocals and stuff like that. But I mean, I'll figure it out. But I've been, like, practicing, like, my songs and whatnot. And I will say there was this one time where, like, I was in this area. I was, like, really quaint, real cute town kind of vibe. And you know, they had, like, bars and clubs and stuff like that. And I wanted to push myself out of my comfort zone, which is the whole purpose and point of this. And perform. But, I was, like, self-conscious for several reasons. One, because, like, with Angie in the car or whatnot, just trying to, like, figure out the whole, like, her using the bathroom thing, and like she had like peed on some of my stuff, and I wasn't sure like if my clothes were good or not. So like I had to like wash my clothes and whatnot, just to make sure it was good. And I was like, I'm not risking the opportunity of like, being new in the area and being like the girl that smells like it. Like, no. Mm-mm. Not that like that's like a big deal, just because like people have said worse about me. But, you know, I don't want to give anyone any reason more than what people already conjure up and drum up to say about me. Like I just want to enter a space and just give my best and and deliver the art. And I'm sure there might have been some spaces that probably would have been like cool for me to go to and might have been able to, receive my music well. But I was like, I'm gonna just chill. I'm gonna keep practicing. And plus, like, I wasn't in the best mood either. Like, there was just like, I don't know, stuff kind of like going on that, like, I don't know, just like made me feel away. And plus, like, again, like, I'm in an area where it's like, I mean, I've been seeing some black people in this area, but not a lot. And so I was just like, all right, let me just wait for a better situation and circumstance. But I did practice, so just to like try to keep my vocals on point. Um, so I'm excited about that. Um, yeah, but that was an instance where I let um not fear, more like frustration and just like the self-consciousness of not being my best to like hold me back, I guess. I don't know. Um, because as an artist, like the thing is like, there's always that conversation of like wanting to be received and accepted by people, but then also like love yourself and don't need other people's validation, accept who you are regardless because you can't please everybody. And I feel like that's a tough space to be in when you're an artist because the whole thing that keeps the operation going when you're an artist is people liking what you do. Like you put music out there and you push and you promote because you want a following to enjoy your music. You want, if you're an artist in any capacity, if you're a filmmaker, if you're an entertainer, like you want people to like what you do, in order for you to be successful. And when people are like, "Oh, I just do it for me, like I don't need nobody to like it." I mean, that can be true. That can be true at the same time, but like let's be real. Like if you want to be successful, there has to be support behind what you do. And so I feel like I'm in this space where I've had to be my own support for a long time when it comes to my art. And there's ebbs and flows and waves where I'll get a lot of support, you know there are ebbs and flows, like I mentioned in my previous live stream or whatever the case may be. Um, okay, it wasn't a live stream, but there was a moment in high school where I performed at a talent show, which for me that was like the highlight of my high school experience. Even though it was a simple show, it wasn't like the most like well put together thing, like the school musical or like the Christmas concert or anything like that. But the talent show was the one space that I looked forward to every year where I could sing the song that I wanted to sing and really present myself as the artist that I was. Like there wasn't like I wasn't aware of like open mics or competitions and stuff like that as a kid. And then when I would see it, like I wouldn't follow through with it because I'd have to go to my dad and be like, "Hey, can I sign up for this thing?" And and I've always wished that I had more like support with my parents. Um you know, like really like pushing for me. But I just saw my parents as like, um, they're not into the arts or entertainment or whatever. Like my dad he just works at the post office. So what would he know about, you know, honing my art and my skills and really advocating for me as an artist, as a singer, and like looking up competitions and seeking opportunities for me to be successful as an artist. What would my dad know about that? He's not in the industry, you know? He just works at the post office and he just, you know, he's a simple guy just working a regular job as a single dad, trying to take care of these kids. And, and it's not like he didn't support me at all. Like he did buy my instruments when I would have games and shows, he would show up. So it's not like he was like absent completely, but I felt like and the thing is, like, growing up, I never really felt comfortable fully expressing myself as an artist around my dad. Like, I only enjoyed singing when I was home alone. So, yeah, the talent show was the one space where I was like, okay, I'll practice my song and this and that. This is where I get to perform, right? And I always looked forward to it. It was a great experience for me. Um, and that it was, high school was interesting because I went to a predominantly white school, and and nothing against white people. I know there's a lot of discourse and conversation about race and stuff like that. But honestly, like aside from like me just having like pushback with authority because I'm an Aquarius and that's just how I be, and I care for independence. You know, I had a great experience in high school. I had a lot of friends. People were supportive, and and we all had like a interesting sense of humor. Because that's how white folk could be. I mean, like that era of like early 2000s, like Seth Rogen movies, and just like that type of humor and like quirk was kind of like my high school experience. How I feel. I feel like that's the best way for me to describe it. And I love Seth Rogen movies. Is basically what I'm saying. But anyway, because I think of like Super Bad, and like the nerdy kids trying to go to the party and like get the attention of the girls or whatever. Like that was kind of like our experience when we would go to like the Holy Ghost dances, because it was like an all boys prep school and they would have dances, and the girls in the nearby all girls Catholic schools would go. And so, and people are like grinding, and it's like, oh, this guy noticed you, like that type of thing. Like, regular high school shit, but anyway, that's beside the point. So, but high school was a cool experience for me. And um and I would have these talent shows, and I sometimes forget, when you're an adult and life progresses and you move on and you're trying to figure out what you want to do in this world, if you don't already know, and you're finding your space in this world, you could forget, especially when you've been removed or like isolated in any way from people who you used to be close to, or maybe you drifted apart or maybe fell apart or whatever the circumstance may be. And sometimes you forget like the good times, and you forget the people who really rallied for you and supported you and, looked out for you. And so I was watching this video of an old talent show of mine. Um, and mind you, I was just like the little quirky black girl, just up there singing my Stevie Wonder song, mind you, um, because I'm an old soul and I listen to old school R&B. Mind you, this is a predominantly white girl school. Do now I'm sure that there's people who know who Stevie Wonder is, right? But I wouldn't expect the demographic of the people I was going to school with to be listening to Stevie Wonder like I was listening to Stevie Wonder, right? So I do my performance and I sang Overjoyed, a cappella, no background music, no nothing, right? And I'm just standing up there flat footed with a mic, and a simple outfit, just singing my song. And I forgot how that performance went just because it wasn't something that I was thinking about. And then when I watched that video back again, and then all the way up to like the applause of the audience and just how everybody just like screamed. It was so fucking loud because I had to turn me up to hear me because, like I said, I was a cappella. So it's just my vocals, like just me by myself singing in the mic. And then like afterwards, and just like everybody just like screaming, oh my God, Narice, and it was it was a dope moment, like rewatching that recently, just because like of the things that I've gone through in my life. Sometimes you'll feel like the world hates you, or nobody understands you, or nobody cares about you and whatnot. And then it's a reminder like that's not the truth of your experience. That's not the truth of who you are. Um, you know, I know the truth of me is that before I figured out my swag, before I figured out like what look great on me, and the strength of my voice, and to make my own beats and stuff like that, cuz I feel like I'm better as a creative today than I was at that time. And I wasn't like braggadocious back then or anything like that. I wasn't like super cocky or any of those things. But when the opportunity came, I show up and I sang my song. Um, and to know that even at the simplest version of myself, to know that I like receive that love and applause and cheer and support. And mind you, and you can hear my friend, because I asked her to record for me, and I can hear my friends in the video like, oh my gosh, Narice, and mind you, she's a singer too. And I think there's a talent show where we've sang together. Like, there's so many times where we've like collabed and whatnot. And I just want to take a moment to highlight that friend. Um, I haven't talked to her in a while, and the thing is, I would say our relationship is interesting because like I wouldn't say that we were best friends, but we hung out a lot, and there's pivotal moments that in hindsight mean so much to me now than I could have ever like foreseen or appreciated then. And we were just hanging out, just being friends or whatever. Like we were a part of a lot of the same music groups and stuff like that in school, and like performance activities or whatever. And we've hung out outside of school like several times. And there's like, in hindsight, I really appreciate our friendship because there's two times where we both have looked out for each other, and I guess like kept each other safe. And I've spoken to this. If my life were like a Truman Show, you might have heard me say it a few times. But just to document it here and really just highlight the quality of like a good friend. And maybe it's more for me than it is for anybody else, just because sometimes when, like, in the last few years, I've just been like really to myself and just focused on my art and stuff like that. And it's not like I don't want to hang out with my friends, but I've just been going through a lot of stuff where I feel like I don't want to put my baggage on them, or they feel like it has to be performative for them to be around me because of whatever um I'm going through at the time. But you know sometimes when you're like isolated and you don't have that support system around you, you can forget that there's people in your life who love you and who want to see you win, and who want to support you and who believe in you. And I've kind of like felt like that. I kind of have that going back and forth of feeling like that sometimes. And um and again, especially like being an artist and wanting to promote your music and your art and needing people to like what you do, meanwhile trying to balance not needing people to feel validation within yourself. I'm like trying not to be emotional here, and it's raining right now. It's an interesting line to be on. And I've gotten a lot better with it in terms of like how I feel about myself. Okay, I'll just side note before I get back to the story about my friend. I've gotten better about that. Just being confident about myself and believing in me and not needing other people to validate that I'm good at what I do or I'm talented, because I know I'm talented. I know I'm a good person. I know that a lot of times, there's so many times, too many times, where I put other people's concerns and safeties and trying to like be the hero in somebody else's life when I need to be my own hero, and try to save myself. and advocate for myself. And I do, but I think it's an Aquarian quote. I mean, Aquarian trait is being a humanitarian. Like, we just care about the world. We see the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is really just trying to look out and care for humanity as a whole. And sometimes we'll do that to our own detriment. And I know that that's something that I'm really trying to work on. But that line between like loving yourself and being confident in yourself, but then also needing other people to like you and support you. Um, it's tough because like I don't want to have to be like I need somebody or I need somebody's help or I can't get this done without somebody. And it be like in a space of like being like thirsty or dependent. And I'm trying to find a healthy way of like receiving help, genuine help, because there's people who can help you and then, slight you in the midst of it, or only help you just to say, oh, well, I helped you during this time, you know. And for me, like, if I help somebody, it's just because I think it's the right thing to do. And, like, and sure, something in return would be nice, but that's not what I do it for. I do it just because it's the right thing to do. And, but it's hard for me to receive help because I don't really trust people like that. I feel like people, you never know who has what agenda, if people are really trying to help you because they genuinely believe in you, or they're trying to help you because it serves them and it elevates them, or they see the magic in you and they just want a piece of that magic, or they want your attention and they want you to pay attention to what they're doing or whatever, more than they genuinely care about your well-being and they care about you because of you as a person and your values and who you stand for, and just like it's hard to gauge what's really real and not with people. However, during a time in my life where I didn't have to think so much about that, where I hung out with people who felt good to me, and when the people was off, I would say it, and I would tell my friends like, "Yo, I know you be hanging out with this girl. You don't even like this girl because you be complaining about this girl, but I'm telling you as a friend because I love you. You probably shouldn't hang with this girl." You know what I'm saying? Because and yeah, so back in those days where I didn't like life wasn't so complicated and you don't got to think like people in high school are so calculated and they're like playing chess with you, and it's like, oh, this person is a friend or this is an ally or this person doesn't like you, but it's probably advantageous for you to have a relationship with them because you never know, it might benefit you in a business deal later on in life. Like I didn't have to think about all that shit in high school. I was just like, I'm here, I'm getting my education, we're having a good time. Like my class, my my grade, it felt like a family to me, and I didn't really have any issues with people in high school like that. There might have been little drama stuff here and there, but I was never really in the midst of the drama. I was usually the person that everybody was coming to, like, girl, let me tell you about this person. And I'm like, all right, well then don't hang with this person. Or like, yeah, this person was helping you out. That's a good look for you. Or, oh, you got this going on. Oh, I love that. Let me show up and support. That was my role in high school. I was the person that was cool with everybody. But anyway, so this friend in particular, Jesse, shout out to Jesse, and I know there's probably other people like, where's my shout out? I'm gonna get to y'all, but I'm specifically talking about Jesse because, there's two times where we both looked out for each other and protected one another. And even in those moments, it didn't seem like much, but as an adult, those are things that are so important. And I don't know, maybe other people need to hear this when it comes to evaluating your circles or whoever's in your corner or whatever. But the one instance where I felt my intentions was to protect her, right? So it's our senior year of high school, right? And so it's me, her, and our other friend, Gabby. Hey, Gabby. And I'm not going to talk too many details. Sorry if I'm spilling the tea, but I feel like, I mean, the tea is probably already spilled somewhere if my life like the Truman Show. Anyway, so we go hang out with this guy that Gabby was kind of like talking to or was into, and this guy has a friend. The friend was trying to hit on Jesse, but I can tell Jesse wasn't really feeling him. And mind you, we had smoked a little weed, you know. And this was Jesse's first time kind of being a little inebriated. It wasn't my first time, but and so I was like a little, I wasn't like smoking all the time, but I had smoked before. But I was cognizant and aware enough to know, like, to peep my surroundings and still be like, okay, let me make sure I'm looking out, and and stuff like that. Like, I was still on my P's and Q's. So we're chilling in the car. We're like in the back seat of a car, whatever. And so I'm sitting next to her, and she's sitting on the side, and he's sitting in front of us. And so he kept saying like, "Oh, maybe you should like slide over so I could sit on the side, Jesse sit in the middle, and he could sit next to her." And I could tell she was a little standoffish, but she wasn't trying to be rude to him. But I didn't care because I can peep that she wasn't really feeling it. And plus, like I said, this was her first time like being a little, off. And so I'm like, nah, like I'm not feeling that, not for her. So I intentionally was like cock blocking. I'm like, nah, I think she good. She I she, you could we y'all could talk from up here. Even though like I wasn't in the conversation, but I was kind of like peeping what was going on. But my mindset was to be like, I need to look out for my friend because I know she's not comfortable. She's not gonna say it because she doesn't want to be rude and she's being sweet about it. But I don't care. Like I don't give a fuck about this guy, you know, and not in a rude way. And he wasn't like a bad guy or anything like that. They ended up going to prom together. He wasn't a bad guy, but the situation forced me to be like, I know she's not on 100 right now, so I'm gonna look out for my friend just to make sure she good. And even if she was feeling him and maybe was just acting like hard to get, I'd rather be a jerk and cock block her rather than, regardless of how she was feeling him and with the intentions of protecting her, than to be in a situation where, say, she wasn't into him and he was trying to make a move and was making her uncomfortable and I wasn't aware and, and something happened, So I'm like, I'd rather look crazy doing the right thing than something potentially going wrong and I could have been in a position to prevent it. So that was one instance where, and then mind you, afterwards, like we go back to her house and we still have like a little bit of a high going on, and we're just like, and our one friend who drove, she didn't smoke, but she was like clowning us or whatever. It's like, oh my gosh, you girls are high and this and that. But I'm like, but I was still aware of what was going on enough to be like, look, I'm gonna look out for my friend. Period. Like, I don't care. I don't care what kind of moves you trying to make on her. Like, that's not happening. Not while I'm here. Like, no. And only because like I can peep how her vibe was without her having to say a whole lot. And again, like I said, this was the first time that she like experienced it. Like, we wasn't like super high or nothing like that, but like it was the first time she had smoked a little weed. And I was like, nah, I'm not about to have nothing crazy going not on my watch. Like, that's just not what's about to happen. And so, but then we like got back to her house and we laughed about it and we was eating pizza rolls. And it was funny because she was so high. She was so high. Like, she was looking at the pizza roll, kind of funny. She was trying to eat it. She was like laying down on the couch, right? And she was trying to eat the pizza roll. And then she like put the pizza roll on her forehead because she was just like out of it. And we looking at her like, yo, you good? She's like, oh my God, I'm hungry. Like, we had the munchies. It was a funny moment. And I think we were like eating ice cream and stuff like that and just like having a girls' night. It was a good time. It was a good time. And sometimes like I have to remind myself of moments like that because like I have so many like good experiences and good interactions and like just good moments with people in my life. And even though there's been a lot of years removed from that, like I think it's important to highlight that because I mean, where we live in a day and age where if people want to bring up the past and bring up stuff, like your mistakes and or your setbacks and your failures, and people always want to bring up negativity from the past. So I'm like, all right, well, let me bring up some positivity and just certain moments where that are important, that if we're going to tell like a story, tell the full story, tell all the sides. Like, everybody has good with the bad. Like, nobody's life is perfect, nobody's life is are all bad. Like, and there's not people who are, well, there might be. I just know I'm not a person that's all bad. Like I might have my moments and, mess ups and mistakes and stuff like that. And especially in situations or circumstances that are crafted and built intending for you to make mistakes. So yeah, some of those moments are bound to happen. But that was a moment that I remember, like, when we was like chilling in the back seat, she was uncomfortable. And, and I was like, or at least I assumed that she was uncomfortable. I felt like I peeped her vibe, and, and I was just like, look, I'll be the asshole. I don't care. You know, I don't care. Like, whatever moves that this dude was trying to make, we not doing that. Cause nah, like maybe when she's sober and she giving you the signs and and it's not mixed signals and it's clear that she's into you, then all right, fine, then I'll get out the way. But this particular situation and circumstance, I wasn't feeling it. That was one instance. And then there was another situation where she saved my life. So shout out to Jesse for that. So we were on I think it was a school trip, either a school trip or a group of us, as like, I feel like our whole class was there. So I feel like it was a school trip and we went to Dorney Park, or I forget what the circumstances was, but all of us from school, we was there. We went to Dorney Park, and we were in a wave pool. So it's like they have the artificial waves or whatever the case may be, right? And so like at the edge where it's a little bit shallow, it's not that bad. But once you get towards the deeper side of the pool, it can be a little bit intense. So we hop in waves or whatever. I forget who else was there, but I remember Jesse was there. Okay, so we hop in waves or whatever. Waves is going. Waves was getting a little strong. And the thing is, they would do it periodically. So there would be some waves, and then they'll let it stop to calm down the water, and then the waves will come again. And so there was one point where the waves was just really intense, and I was treading water. So and I can swim and all those things, but it was a bit much for me. So the waves were coming, and I was getting a little tired, and I wasn't by the edge of the pool. So I'm like, I'm trying to tread water. The waves is coming over, and I'm like, oh no, oh no. And so like I was a little bit stressed. And Jessie could see that I was struggling. She was like, you good? I'm like, girl, I don't know. And I was trying to get to the edge, right? Because I was like, it started getting a little bit much for me. And so I was going to the edge of the pool. But the waves still kept coming. And so, and mind you, the lifeguard comes up, right? This white boy with the, the little, whatever the little bar things that they be holding, right? He walk up like, you good? And I'm like, nigga, do I look good? Like, if you gotta come up here, help, nigga. Like, but nah, I was like, but by the time he had came over there, Jessie saw that I was struggling a little bit. So she held my arm and she was holding me up. So when the waves came, it wasn't like bringing me down, like I was over the wave. But in the midst of her holding me up, the wave started dragging her a little bit. I'm like, not her sacrificing herself for me, a friend. And so she's holding me up, right? God bless her. And she's trying to bring me over to the side of the pool so I can hold on to the edge and like gather my life. So she, eventually she brings me over there. And then, and she gathers herself. She's all right. She's good. But, she did start to struggle a little bit in the midst of trying to hold me up. And so, and then at that point, that's when the lifeguard had like walked up and was like, are you guys okay? Are you good? And we're like, yeah, we're good now. 2 minutes ago, I don't know. But yeah, like, and there's several times where like we've talked about that moment and it just like laughed because it was so funny and just like how the struggle was. And she's like, yeah, girl, I'm over here. I'm about to slide in the water because I'm trying to hold you up. Yeah, it was a mess. It was a mess. But like we got it together though. And and in that moment in hindsight, like it didn't seem like a big deal. And it's something that we've laughed about like since. But now, full circle moment, just as an adult and just like reflecting on just moments of my life where I know like because sometimes you'll go through negative experiences and you feel like, isolated, like nobody wants to be around you, or people like try to attack you or whatever, try to justify treating you less than a human. Um, and then sometimes you can forget like that's not how life is, and that's not how life should be. And there's moments and instances where there are people who support you, and there's people who want to see you win, and there's people who think the best of you, and there's people who literally are willing to sacrifice and hold you up just because they don't want to see you drown, sacrificing themselves. And even people putting themselves in positions that can seem like be risky. Maybe it's risking, their reputation or their honor, or access to certain spaces just because they know that what they're standing for is the right thing, the right thing. Or just because, what, I don't like how, you know, this person is struggling over here. And yeah, sure, it might take away from my time, or you know, it might not be an advantage for me, but the right thing to do is just try to hold this person up. Not that moment becoming a sermon. But in all seriousness though, like that's it, and it is really important. And and sometimes I forget when people have been willing to do that for me. Because when you're just like dealing with life and you're dealing with people's perceptions of you, and and just trying to fit into the world, whether it's in work, whether it's in your hobbies or in sports or whatever it is, and say like, all right, we all have this thing in common, but that doesn't mean that person is going to like you. That doesn't mean that person is going to support you. Maybe that person might see you as a threat and as a competition, or and will do anything in their power to try to tear you down. But I think it's important to highlight when folks have been, willing to sabotage themselves in order to help somebody else. Like, I mean, it wasn't much of a sacrifice with the whole situation in the car with my friend. Because it's not like it wasn't like a super serious situation. It's not like, he was beating her or anything, or like harassing her. But I can tell my friend was uncomfortable, and I felt like it was the right thing to do, to like, just intentionally like, nah, I'm gonna sit right here. If you want to sit back here, you can sit next to me. And then sure, if y'all want to talk, but I'm sitting right here and she gonna sit over there, you know? And, I just felt like that was, I don't care if he, felt the way about me after that or whatever. I didn't care, because the priority for me was looking out for my friend. And and I feel like in hindsight, like those those stories mean so much to me now as an adult, because even though we were young, like we were in high school, so like you're still developing in life. You're still figuring out who you are, what you're into, what your interests are, what your values are. But to know that both of us looked out for each other in that way, then means a lot to me. And and it's especially in adulthood, because it's like it's easier to make friends when you're in school because you see those people every day. And when you're an adult, it's a little different, because it's like you're focused on how you paying your bills, you got to go to work, or or maybe you're trying to make your passion your work, you're trying to start a business or whatever. So your focus isn't really like, oh, how am I socializing? Like you do, but it's like I need to network, because networking is what's going to propel this thing that I'm trying to do, rather than like, oh, I want to connect with people and have a good time, you know? And in adulthood, sometimes that could be tricky, and maybe you fall like you drift apart from people who you were close to or who you've known or whatever. And in the midst of that, sometimes you can forget like what it's like to have like people support you and love you for you, and not because of what they can get from you or what they can gain from you or the magic that's within you or your talent or your gifts or your attention or the clout that they can build off of you, but just because you are who you are, and regardless of the flaws of within you or your past or your baggage or whatever that is, like, and people still ride for you and still look out for you and still stand by you. I think that's really important. And I try my best to do that when I feel like people are doing a good thing, when I feel like people are, from my perspective, fighting for a good cause. And yeah, sure, there might be like mistakes and flaws or whatever, especially like in some of my friendships. Like, there's definitely times when my friends have like, gotten on my bad side or like rubbed me the wrong way or whatever the case may be. But I know in their heart they're a good person, or at least I feel they're trying to do a good thing. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna let that slide, and I'm gonna still stand by you because you're my girl. But you tripping, you know. Um, but then I can understand some people getting to a point where it's like it's a lot of baggage, and I don't know. That I mean, that could be that can that's a whole nother conversation. That's a whole nother conversation for a different time. But this was supposed to be about like being an artist and like support and stuff like that. But since I'm already there, I'll just finish that point. Um, well, I mainly would just want to highlight when people look out for me with no agendas attached, or maybe they do so in a way where, for me, like, okay, I hate to be in situations where I support people and they have me looking crazy. And I can understand why people in my life may have felt that way about me and would feel like, oh, but Narisse is a good person, but look at all the positive that she's done. Look at the fucked up situations that be happening, the things that she's gone through. I'm a stand by her. But then, something will happen or something will be said or whatever. And then it's like, I don't know, maybe this might not be a good look. I've had those moments far too many times. And from that perspective, I can understand it. My thing is, I can understand if people want to step away, but what bothers me is when people go from like acting like they support you and then into attacking you. And I'm like, bitch, the fuck is your problem? Like, my thing is like, you don't have to like me, but the fuck is you attacking me for? You know? Um and I think we're in a day and age where like something that I feel with society today is that because of social media, we have so much more access to people than we once had before. Like, we know about people's personal lives, we know where people's homes are, where they sleep, who they date in, who their friends are. And there's not a lot of room for, you know, privacy or mysteriousness. So, and especially on platforms like TikTok where you could be dolled up and you can be, you know, wig off, makeup not done, or it's probably time for you to, like, shape up the fade. I don't know. Like, I feel like with TikTok, it's more comfortable regardless of what you look like. Like, yeah, you could be on there with full glam, but then you could also be in there with the bonnet on, and it's fine as long as the content is good. So I feel like there's that level of intimacy that we're used to across social media. And I feel like with that, the downside to that is that people are comfortable, you know, tapping into your life, and tapping into your being, and, and opinions and perspectives. And I know I'm not saying I'm perfect at this, okay? I know I am opinionated. And I'm trying my best to not be so out loud with it, okay? I'm doing better. I'm not perfect, but I'm trying my best to be in a space where I'm like, I don't have anything nice to say. I don't have anything nice to say, and I'm not going to say anything. And I'm getting better at catching myself. I'm getting better at, like, I can go off right now, but I'm not. And I think I deserve flowers for that alone. But anyway, but I say that to say, I feel like because of social media, we're so comfortable being into people's lives and knowing so much about people's lives, even if it's not warranted for you to know. And because of those things, it's like, I have the right to attack you verbally or attack you energetically through these platforms, because I know so much about what you put on social media. Or maybe it don't even got to be what you put on social media. It could be what other people put on social media about you. And because it's out there, everybody and their mom got, like, a dissertation, or, or like a podcast or whatever, where they break down all the specifics. And that's cool, because, like, and I'm not gonna lie, like, that's why we get on here. Oh, you heard about this story? Like, everybody talking about Shannon Sharp right now. That's the main story that's in the headlines, or at least that's what I've been seeing on my feed. It's been Sinners, everybody breaking down how great of a movie that is, and I'm sure it is. I haven't seen it, probably not right now, just because I'm focused on my artistry. But shout out to Ryan Coogler, he's a great director. And Michael B. Jordan. I'm sure it's a phenomenal movie. At least that's what I'm hearing. And I've been seeing a lot of people talk about this whole Shannon Sharp situation with the girl. Now, again, I feel like, and that's usually the balance. It's like either something really dope and good in the creative space, or like drama in a personal space. And I don't know. I just feel like it's so easy to, like, for me, I'm just like, okay, my line that I'm drawing in my own life is like, you ain't gotta like me. You don't have to like me. You can change your opinion about me. You can hear, like, oh, I heard this about you. This person said you did this. And, and change your opinion, and that's fine. All right, fine. Don't like me. That's okay. But it's not necessary to attack me, especially when, like me or not, there's many a times where I can attack other people, but instead I either, like I'm doing my best to do, refrain from saying the hurtful things that I can say that can probably manifest into a physical thing, because words are powerful, apparently. I'm still learning that. Or try to be the bigger person in the situation and be helpful. And instead of just judging and attacking, creating solutions, you know? And honestly, I just feel like in society right now, like, it's easy for us to just, like, judge and attack each other, and without really understanding the full scope of what people are going through, or what situation, circumstance, environment, upbringing, support, or lack of support may have been going on in their life to influence whatever the thing is that you're attacking them for. And there's people who be knowing those things that, like, okay, like for example, like you'll know, like say you got a friend that's going through a rough time, and so you got a friend that's going through a rough time and you want to be there for them, but you know, like they grew up in a fucked up family situation. You know, the neighborhood that they grew up in wasn't like the most fruitful and nurturing space, and they've dealt with like people berating them and just like energetic badgery to their spirit. And so some people can take that and try to transmute it into a positive thing, or some people can transmute that into a hateful thing, and they can be seen as a menace to society. I think it says something for the people who, regardless of the things that they go through, really try to make an effort to do good regardless. I think that's the most important thing. I've said that several times on here. I know it's a repeating point that I've made, and there's probably you can line up all these live streams and see that I probably said some similar things the same, because I don't be switching up from what I be saying. But I think it says a lot when, regardless of the things that you've been through in your life, whether it be good or positive, you know, there's people who got it made. There's people who are born into some beautiful situations, like your bills is paid, you ain't got to stress for food, you ain't grow up in the projects or nothing like that. I didn't grow up in the projects either, but I had friends that was in the projects. You know, like, so I was adjacent to that lifestyle in a particular way. But there's people who might have had it good and still some way somehow turn out to be like less than positive people. But I think it really says something for people who will go through the toughest things, and maybe they don't have support, and maybe they've been attacked, maybe they grew up in really toxic environments, and they still make an effort to do the right thing and do a good thing. And you got these people, there's people who don't give a fuck at all. There's people who are in position to help individuals and don't. There are people who are in position to be a blessing to somebody's life and don't. However, I think what frustrates me more than anything is when you see somebody who probably needs a blessing themselves going out of their way to be blessings for other people. And somehow, some way, society will try to conjure and construct some way to still try to tear that person down. Instead of highlighting ways that you can help and heal that person. Like, okay, say you see somebody struggling or whatever the case may be, or you don't like them because of this thing that happened in their past or their childhood or whatever the case may be, but you see they trying to do something good. You see they trying to help people, and you looking out, right? But maybe they might have a trait that you don't like. Maybe there might be a habit that isn't a positive one. Are you the type of person that's presenting solutions for those problems? Or are you attacking them for those problems and perpetuating those problems in society? Like, are you helping to fix the thing, or are you continuing the negativity? And the tricky thing is when people intentionally do both. And you know, and that's the thing I don't stand for. Like, you know, some people, like, if they're in situations where it's like, oh, it's chess not checkers, and you know you got to play both sides of the aisle or whatever. I don't know, I just feel like that's corny. Because I feel like that just gives people an excuse to like get away with like Stockholm syndrome type relationships, where it's like, all right, I'm gonna treat you bad because like it appears this way, but then I'm gonna actually like help you out on the low. If that's the case, don't help me at all, don't support me at all, don't be around at all. Like, if you can't support me all the way, then don't support me a little bit, period. And I don't care what it looks like. Like some people say like, oh, because it doesn't look right or it's not socially acceptable. Like if you're scared to stand by me, then don't stand by me at all. But for the people who like see the best in me, and regardless of what people have to say about me, and help in ways that are transparent, where it can't be seen as like, oh, is that a slight, or is it helpful, or is this a helpful slight? Like miss me with that. Miss me with that, because I don't care. If that's the case, don't help me at all. If you can't help me from a genuine space, or if you can't support me and uplift me, and be proud based on who I am as a person and what my actions have shown in my life, and just how I've grown and evolved as a person through the hardest circumstances in my life, and how I've taught myself, built things myself, and of course, like I've had help along the way, and I'm very grateful for that help. I don't take that for granted. But, my thing is like, I'm proud to be who I am. I'm proud of me. And going back to that whole conversation of like not needing people's validation, but being open to support. I don't need people to tell me that I'm a good person, because I know I'm a good person. I feel like my actions show that. I feel like the point, the fact that when I'm triggered in certain situations, and I could do a whole like crash out, and like, I don't know, like summon to tear down earth, not manifesting, just saying. I do my best to catch myself and not, and just be like, I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be evil. I don't want to be hateful. I don't want to be that. That's not what I want to be. Like I want to be a loving person. I want to see the beautiful things in the world. I want to see people interacting and spending time with another, and having love and respect for one another. I enjoy being in spaces that feel safe, where you can freely express yourself and laugh and eat and share moments with good people. Like that's what I want out of life. I'm not someone that thrives off destruction. I don't care for that. That's not my vibe. My true vibe is like those instances, like I said, with those stories of me performing at a talent show, and having the audience be so supportive. And it's not even a song, it wasn't even a current song, it wasn't like a pop song of the day. Like I was singing an old school R&B song, but because it was me, and because I did a good job, and I was around people who knew me for real and supported me and showed me love in that moment, that's my vibe. That's my energy. That's the truth of my experience, of my frequency. And in those instances where me and my friend have both looked out for each other, and then we're able to, like, in hindsight, get back to a safe space and then laugh at it. And just laugh at us being in these ridiculous predicaments, but then also being there to literally lift up and protect and support one another. That's my frequency. That's my energy. Those are the moments that I love. And even my other friend, who drove us there, you know, for a period of time, like when we were really close, she had been one of my biggest supporters, you know, and and it's funny, like to a point where I was like, okay, girl, you gotta chill. Like you're doing too much. But like, you know, she was one of the people, like when I did my first talent show, actually, and I was doing a dress rehearsal. Her and another friend of mine were just like boohoo crying in the audience. And I'm like, okay, y'all doing a lot. And mind you, this was my first year at that school. Nobody really knew I could sing like that. I wasn't putting it out there, but they had the talent show, and I was like, all right. And I did Beautiful by Christina Aguilera. Just sat there on a stool and sang my song. And, them girls was you know, crying like the rain. Um, but and then from that moment, like, I mean, me and Gabby, we were cool, but we became really good friends, and we've had our ups and downs, and there's many times when she got on my nerves, and I'm sure I got on hers, you know, but she had always been a huge supporter of mine. And, and I think at that time, there were moments that I took it for granted because of like the little like rifts and stuff that we would have. But I'm grateful. I'm grateful during that time when we were close to have a friend like her, because there's so many times where she advocated for me and supported me and shown up for me and, and was proud of me. And I know things have evolved and changed through the years, but I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful that there was a period of time in my life where like the friends that were around me were like proud of me and supported me and showed up for me and was there for me at good times, bad times, whatever. And you know, I'm grateful for those moments. And sometimes like in moments like this when I'm just like on the road, like just traveling, just trying to like venture out to new spaces and build a new audience or whatever. Sometimes I have to remind myself like there were definitely real moments in my life where I know I was surrounded by love. And there were people who genuinely loved me and didn't care that I didn't have as much money as them and didn't care that they had the car and I didn't have a car. So they had to pick me up everywhere, but they just wanted to hang out with me because they wanted to hang out with me because they enjoyed spending time with me and I was their friend. And we laughed together and had heart to hearts and would share the things that would stress us out or whatever and would have a good time. And I know my life is very different today, but sometimes it's good to have those reminders like there are people who love you and there are people who would sacrifice something in their own lives just to lift you up and look out for you. And there's people who see the best in you and people who want to see you win. And sometimes like it's hard to believe that because you don't know, like some people could be acting like they're supporting you or acting just because they want you to put in a good word for them or help propel them or whatever. And I think for me, like some of the more hurtful things is like when people like switch up on you. Like at one point, people would be like willing to be unpopular to stand up in support of you because they know what's going on is wrong. And then at some point, switch up the tune to, their perspective of you. And again, you ain't gotta like me. You ain't gotta like me, but you ain't gotta attack me. Is all I'm saying. You know? And yeah, I mean, and I guess for me, like in recent years, that had been like some of the more like hurtful things. Is like, when people like, and I'm like, okay, even if like details about certain circumstances like come out like or certain dramas like, oh, this person was like this in this relationship or whatever. But it's like, okay, but you understand like my backstory. You understand the foundation. You like at this point for me, like it don't matter what shit you could come up with that's happened in the recent past or like the past or in interactions or like, oh, but this situation, oh, but that situation. But it's like, okay, but my upbringing though. Anything that you come up with doesn't change the history of what came like what built that those circumstances. That's how I truly feel about a lot of instances in my life. And it's not just like to place all blame, even though In some instances, I feel like that's necessary. However, something that I like made a mental note of is like, look, in a situation where like you might not be in full control of your life, because say like you might live with your parents or whatever the case may be, and and you may have grown up in it like or in a neighborhood that's a little bit toxic or whatever. Um and say you have like a friendship that goes awry, and that friendship. Okay, I'm trying to make an analogy for this, and it's kind of hard to say, but like, say you're in a situation where like you're not in complete control of your life, and you're still like following the instruction or supervision of the adults around you or the people who have the power to pull the strings in your life, and something goes awry because maybe the environment that you were brought up in was intended for things to go wrong with you, and because systemic racism or whatever, we'll just say it's that. And say this person, there's a issue or a circumstance that happens in their life that's a setback, and the people around them turn on them. But it's like, okay, but you understand the origins of the story though. Like, you understand how this came to be, you understand the environment and how there's certain structures and systems intentionally placed to curate these particular problems. Like, okay, a more specific example that I feel like can relate. Like, all right, mass incarceration, right? You can say, oh, this black boy, you know, robbed this store or whatever. Now, yes, that instance did happen, but let's not act like there's not an agenda, people in positions of power that are going to artists in the industry and saying, we need you to put out this gangster rap, and we need you to say it like this and talk about drinking lean and talk about robbing stores and this and that. And these are the same people that's paying artists to put this shit in their music and to have billboards in these neighborhoods and these structures and these schools that look like prisons. Let's not act like those people in positions of power that are paying these artists to push that narrative and push that story aren't the same people that have equity in private prisons, because they know that messaging and that symbolism in their music to get people to behave in that way. Yeah, that kid that unfortunately made that decision and or was influenced to make that decision got caught up in some shit. And now they're in the prison pipeline. But let's not ignore the people in position of power that's intentionally pushing this narrative because they profit off the prison. Y'all know this. We know this. Y'all keep looking at the small moves on the board, but y'all not looking at the hands that's holding the board and moving the pieces. And I feel like in instances in my own life, I mean, not that that's ever been my deliberate experience, but I feel like there's many times where you could look at a situation and be like, "Oh, this person or this kid was acting up." But it's like, all right, but look at all you got to look at the bigger picture. You're too zoomed in, and you need to zoom out to all of the pieces in play. Like, okay, what was going on at the time? What all parties were involved? What were their upbringings like? What is the environment like? Is the environment influencing this behavior? Or is it just this one person? Or is this an environment where everybody's behaving this way and you're just zoomed into one person? Or can you zoom out and look at the full picture and see like, oh no, this is a normal behavior based on what the environment has curated this space to be, and what this, you know, governmental structures has intended a town to be. But that's a tangent. That's a tangent, but am I lying? Am I wrong for that? Am I wrong for saying that? But then when you actually try to stand up to these systems and these structures, they're really good at bringing up an issue each quarter. Like I've been saying, every quarter it's a new problem, or it's the same problem revamped. It's like, oh, but now we got some receipts. Okay, based on the same played out story that y'all been trying to push about certain narratives. But why are we not talking about the bigger hands at play that it could have prevented these situations and didn't, because they needed those situations to happen because it's advantageous and beneficial to their demonic structures. I'm cooking too much. The pot is hot. The pot is hot and I'm cooking too much. But anyway, it's like, attacking a kid for, making a mistake in their childhood. Keyword childhood. Not an adult, not a full grown adult that knows better and is doing better. Right. But when you look at children that are grown up in these environments that have forced them to grow up fast, and and they don't know right from wrong, their frontal cortex isn't fully developed. They say it's supposed to be developed at 25, and they're in environments with people who subconsciously influence this behavior, and then you attack that child and say like, oh, they're a super predator, but not acknowledging the power structures that intentionally, deliberately want them to behave this way, because they have investments in certain circumstances and industries that benefit off of Black children being blamed and being attacked. Like, if you follow the paper trail, if you really want to follow the papers and follow the paper trails and the receipts, like, there's certain, like, let's not act like there's certain platforms that probably profit off of intentionally putting out specific narratives, knowing damn well the issue is with the power structure. Because, like, who benefits the most out of these problems? That's really the question. Who benefits the most? We don't talk enough about that. Y'all keep looking at the smaller issues and not looking at who benefits off these problems. Y'all get so caught up in the discourse and the drama and oh, this person did this to this and that situation happened. But it's like, who benefits off those problems? Who benefits off those situations happening? You could have 7 different instances with 7 different people in 7 different places, and you can be focused on those individual circumstances instead of looking at the fact that there's a connection between all these 7s that's happening. And there's some power structure, some industry that probably benefits off these problems. Like, for example, alcoholism. You got somebody in a family that struggle with alcohol. But guess what? Whoever owns the alcohol brand probably is benefiting off those problems. And you're just looking at it like, oh, damn, this person keep drinking. They keep fucking up and this and that. All right. Now, who's influencing them to drink? Where are these environments? And who owns these environments? What's the advertising going on? What content is being pushed out here to influence said behaviors? Anyway, this is a tangent. But, until y'all start talking about that, because that's the thing that really upsets me about this day and age with social media and stuff like that. Y'all keep talking about specific problems, but you're not talking about the bigger problem. And every time people start talking about the bigger problem, people get scared. And it's like, I can't be the only one making sense about these things. And I mean, like, Maybe for biased reasons because I'm a black woman in America, and so I have the experiences of seeing it firsthand, how its effect played out in my life. But like realistically, like whether it's happening to me or not, or anybody else, like you got to look at these situations, like look at the bigger picture here. Who benefits off these problems? The same people that y'all watch the content from, the same platforms that y'all be going to watch the content and to go to make your content and judge the circumstance, are the people who benefit off these problems. And y'all be talking about these specific scenarios, but you're not talking about the puppeteer that's pulling the strings, creating the scenarios. It's like, what people be saying about Love and Hip Hop. And it's no shade to Love and Hip Hop, because I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna act like I haven't enjoyed watching that show, or, the drama or whatever. Not enjoyed it, but like it's been a guilty pleasure. But let's be real. Y'all look at the specific scenarios like, oh my gosh, Jocelyn and Stevie J be going back and forth or whatever. But there has to be an issue in order for there to be a storyline, in order to there to be the show, in order for, there to be 11 Hip Hop owned by Mona Scott, and then Mona Scott were brokering the deal with VH1, and VH1 with whoever owns VH1 and whoever owns that company. Like, we're just looking at this drama between Stevie J and Jocelyn is crazy. But there's somebody making billions off of that. Follow the money. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. But anyway, back to what I really wanted to talk about. I am so grateful for the support and the love that I have had through the years, on and off or whatever, and yes, like, the switch ups be disappointing, and I do feel away because I am a person, even though I feel like I'm an alien having a human experience. And, but I do have emotions, and yes, I do deal with it, you know. I mean, I feel more frustration than I do feel like sadness or whatever. But I do have emotions. I do be feeling away. Um and but at the same time, you know, I just want to highlight the positive. And the positive is like, there's many stories and many people in my life who have been a blessing to me. And maybe there might have been circumstances and situations where I felt misunderstood, or, like people's perceptions of me were like incorrect, or, didn't get the full scope of my story. Maybe their experience of me might have just been a fraction of me based on the emotion I was feeling that day, or whatever influenced that circumstance of the moment. However, I'm grateful for the people who are willing to like really like hear me, and see me, and regardless, and know like, yeah, I'm flawed. And yeah, when situations are tough and it feels like the cards are stacked against you, yeah, sometimes you might be bound to make a mistake. And in those making mistakes, like that's when everybody turns to attack you, right? However, I'm grateful for the people who still like, who really see like, you know what, this person is really trying their best. They out here trying to help people, and y'all be attacking this person as if like, they could be using their power or their magic for destruction, and they're trying to use their magic for good, and y'all are attacking this person. But y'all not attacking the power structures that intentionally be crafting, you know, these circumstances and situations, and these, whatever. Like, and I feel like I keep saying this, but I'm just going to keep saying this until people like keep waking up and recognizing that we're all being played, and y'all just be working for lower vibrational energy. But but yeah. And and okay, something that I did start to say but I didn't really highlight, but I will say now. Um in regards to like when it comes to like supporting people and being willing to like look a certain way or sacrifice to in order to support people. See, the thing for me is like, okay, I feel like Like I said before, in those smaller instances in my life, like how my friend, in holding me up, she was risking her own safety, but we both got out of there and are alive today, and so on. For me, like what matters is like if like I would risk looking crazy to support anybody that's willing to support me in a way where them supporting me puts them at a disadvantage, or it's a risk, or there's a loss. And depending on how big the loss is, or how intense the risk is, and if they're willing to take a risk to make a stand, I respect that. And for that reason, like that's where like my loyalty stands. Like it's one thing to like support somebody when things are good. Can you stand the rain? Sunny days, everybody loves them. But tell me, can you stand the rain? Can you? Can you stand the rain? You know, because it's easy to be around people when things are good. And I'm not always the best at that either. It's easy to well, no, that's not true. Now wait, let me think about that. Hold on, because there are many times, many relationships and friendships where I've been there for people where I was holding them up, and they ain't had nothing to hold on to but me. You know, and it's not like I did it for like the praise or the or anything. I just because it was the right thing to do and I cared about a person. Like when I think to like certain relationships that I had, and and when my partners were going through a rough time, maybe financially or with their family or whatever the case may be, or probably all of it, and I just knew that I wanted to be a safe space for them. Keyword being a safe space, because I care about stuff like that. And, knowing that, especially specifically as it pertains to Black men, in a world where there's so many structures and systems intended to break down the spirit of a Black man, I know there's been relationships in my life with Black men where I know they're going through it and it's a struggle for them. And I want to be a support to them. One, because I love you, because I'm with you, or you're a friend of mine or whatever, but because I know how the system treats and sees you, and I don't want to be that to you. But then it gets to a point where it's like I can't want the best for you more than you want it for yourself. And I feel like there's times where I've like been in relationships and held people up that appear to be going through it or whatever the case may be, and and then find out like they playing in my face, and the whole time I'm showing up for you, and I'm trying to be there for you. I'm trying to be a support for you, because my thing is like I show up for people the way I would want people to show up for me. And if I feel like one, you going through a rough time, or it's rough and you need support, I want to be that support, because I know that things might be rough for me, and if people support me, I'm grateful for that. However, I think it's another thing when people be playing in your face, where it's like, oh, we'll support you, but then we gonna jab you over here. We'll support you, but then we gonna attack you over here. At this point, fuck you, is how I be feeling. Like, and like at this point, it's like fuck this strategic shit, or the like, oh, we gotta play both sides. Like, no, stay over there then. If you a op, then just be a op. Just be a op, And again, like you ain't gotta like me, but you ain't gotta attack me or be mean to me, because Lord knows I'm not mean to other people, unless again, it it don't be until people start with me. There's been so many instances where I have like been supportive of people, I've looked up to people, I've like defended people, fought for people, protected people, so many times in so many instances, just to be let down by those people, and then they turn their back on me and attack me. And I'm like, all right, you might have whatever reason to like not want to be my friend, or not want to be in my circle, or whatever the case may be, or not want to be around me, and that's fine. If you don't want to be around me, then you don't have to be. But it's another thing where I have gone out on a limb for you, and you turn around and then try to make me out to look crazy, or be like an awful person, or like a terrible friend, or whatever the case may be, when I could list off many instances where I have been there for people and I've shown up for people, and I was was down to my last dollar, but I helped them out or I supported their business or whatever the case may be. And for whatever reason, they turn on me. But it's like, and especially if, like, for whatever reason, like, for example, like, say, hypothetically, I'm not saying that this has ever happened with me, but say, like, all right, say you got a friend that's got like a family or whatever the case may be, and you show up for them, you're a good friend to them and they family, you show up for the baby birthdays, giving gifts and this and that, and then say they may have heard like I don't know, like you are a home wrecker or something like that, but they never seen you home wreck. They never seen that. You've been around their family, you're respectful, you show up, you show love, you down the ride, you support them. They've never seen you be a home wrecker. That vibe hasn't even, you know, but for whatever reason they've heard through somebody else's experience. But in your relationship with them, they've been nothing but a solid friend. And then they switch up on you and start attacking you, and you like, yo, what's up with this person? Like, I've been there for you, I've been helping you out, I've been supportive of you. Why you switching up on me? And those are the instances that like really bother me, because it's like, if you can't go off your own experience, if your own experience of me doesn't align with the things that like somebody may have gossiped about or said about, and that's caused you to flip, then stay over there. You know what I mean? Because I know there's more than enough times where I've shown up for people and I've been like, I've been more than a good friend. And then, we drifted apart for whatever reason. And then, like, in hindsight, when I come to find out, because mind you, it don't ever make sense to me. It's never like it be like, oh, I know I said this thing. I mean, there are instances where I've been like, okay, I can see why when I said this probably made that person feel away. Or when I made this mistake over here, that's probably why. There's so many experiences where like people have switched up on me and I don't get it. And mind you, they've been around me for years, been good friends of mine. You know, their own experiences of me don't even align or add up with the shit that other people could have said. And chances are, whoever is saying these things, I've probably shown up for that person too. You know, like that be the craziest part. The craziest part is when the people who do the gossiping, it's like, are you serious? The times I went out of my way to come meet you and see you and visit you and hang out with you, and I brought you this and got you that, and and over here advocating for you, defend, like, people trying to talk bad about you, and I'm defending your honor, and and I feel like that I don't know what lesson I'm supposed to be learning with that. I don't know what God has in store in my life in those instances, but I'm really tired of that experience. I'm really tired of that. Because my thing is like, I'm loyal to a fault. And that's probably my struggle. Is like, because I just care to be a good person, and I just care to be a good friend, and I just want to show up for people the way I would want people to show up for me. I would want people to be loyal to me. The way that I'm loyal. And again, if I see people like sacrifice or take a loss or whatever in support of me, then I'm like, I got your back. Period. Because I know, like, all right, if there's a risk that you took just to, or you risk like your reputation or whatever, finances, stuff like that or whatever, and it's low key, high key in support, then I'm like, all right, I got you. Period. Fuck it. If war comes upon you, I will, draw my sword. However, it's another thing when you do that, and then in the same vein, like, people use that as a tactic to manipulate you and to get you to do what they want you to do, and you think that they're in support of you, but they're really like just playing in your face. That's where like people be having me fucked up. And I'm just like, you don't deserve my loyalty, because I'm loyal, and I will. And again, there's many instances where I've supported people, shown love to people, uplifted people, spent money on their business, on their products, shown up to a friend's event, shown up to a this, shown up to a that, And just for those same people to like betray me. And, I like, yeah. So that's why I'm on the road, experiencing new spaces and new places. And, and that doesn't always mean like you'll find the right people. It might be some of the same shenanigans, might be the same demons lurking in the air. But, you know, I just want to experience new things. And you can't limit yourself based on your environment. So I feel like, okay, going to new environments and new spaces broadens the chance of having like new, better experiences, and positive experiences with good people. Um, and, it's not always perfect, but I think it's worth trying, you know? And again, like in that regard, like I know in a situation, like I know I'm a good person. Like I know when I remind myself of those moments and those stories and those interactions with friends where we have loved and supported each other and laughed with each other and shown up, and like even when I now I'm thinking about Jessie again, like she's an artist and she's a really talented painter and drawer. I think that's a word. Um, and she had an art gallery years ago. I'm not sure if she's still doing that, but I remember showing up at her art gallery, and I remember my dad was telling me about it. I was like, oh yeah, yeah, that's not even a question. Like, yeah, we're going to the art gallery, you know, or like say a friend does like a business launch. I'm going to be there. Like, or you got like a baby shower, or or you're moving, or you're getting married. I love anything that like when I'm really truly like jealousy is hard to find me because I really be wanting to see people win, and other people winning never felt like a disadvantage for me until I realized that certain people needed me to be down in order for them to win. That's when I have a problem. But more times than not, I'd be wanting to see people win so bad. Like, I don't care what my life is looking like, because what my life is shouldn't be your business, unless I choose for you to be a part of my life. But I really be wanting to see people thrive and win, and I want to see people happy. I want people to follow their dreams and like find love and success and the right people, and good friendships and safe spaces. Like I want that for everybody, you know and now I'm at a space and time where it's like, you know what, I want that for me. I feel I deserve that, because like I know, like, as much as people only want to highlight negative, when I think of the positive, there's so much positive. Like there's an abundance of positive experiences and moments and things that's happened in my life. And I'm so grateful for that. And this world would try to trick you out your blessings and have you think that you're not who you are. And when you really just like tune out the noise and you remember like the good memories and the good interactions, which I have many. I've had many good times with friends. There's a lot of times where I had a lot of friends, and not like oh, everybody's my friend, but I was just cool with everybody. I didn't have drama with a lot of people. Like, I got along with a lot of folks, and I always wanted people to feel comfortable around me and like they can be themselves and feel safe. And I take pride in that. And it bothers me when anybody tries to align me with something otherwise, because I know for a fact that's not the truth of who I am. The truth of who I am has always been someone that like uplifts people, highlights people. Like, I mean, you see it in my music. Like, I mean, and I know we live in this world where we're decoding a lot of things, but I'm like, okay, but that's when you intentionally try to listen to things with a negative lens. But in my songs, like most of my songs are like uplifting and inspirational or speak to liberation. Like, yeah, because that's the frequency that I'm on. That's the type of time I'm on. And even when people try to like put like a negative spin to certain things, it's like, how can you? How can you? I can't even put a negative spin. Even when I want to like, you know, rap some like low vibrational shit out of frustration, I know the power of my voice. I can't speak this into rhymes because I don't want my music to be on that frequency. Even when I know I'm telling my truth and I have a right to feel frustrated and irritated, I know I want my music to uplift people. And I know, like, if I'm going to manifest anything in my music, I want to manifest light. I want to manifest love. I want to manifest, you know, freedom. I want to manifest the best things, even if I might be experiencing some of the negative, you know? And yeah. Hi, love. We got a little furry guest here. But yeah, so anyway, I was going to do some creative things. And I still am. It's just a little different because it's like raining now. But yeah, I think I'm gonna like work on some music because like I said, I've been like inspired to write. And I feel like even just the things I'm saying here is important. And another live stream where I feel like I don't know. I feel like I make valid points, and but at the same time, like even like the most intelligent people that you feel like do all the right things, like I don't understand the Meghan Markle hate. I don't get it. Like I feel like she just be minding her business, looking fabulous, and like just trying to be like a solid wife to her husband, and married into a toxic situation and got him up out of there. And some people are like, oh, it's separating from tradition, but it's like if it drove her to a point of like suicide or even having suicidal ideation, something's wrong with that space. Something's wrong with that space. And nobody's doing the work to change that space. But they're saying, no, you just need to adapt to the toxicity. And it's like, nah. I mean, in that same energy, let's be real, it's probably why Harry and William don't got their mom. But that's a whole nother conversation for another time. I was not trying to get into that tangent. But I will say, like, all right, I get it if some people don't like her for personal reasons. That's their business. But I feel like in in the hindsight, she don't really be bothering nobody. Like she's not a mean-spirited person. You don't see her like attacking people. You don't see her like destroying like cities and going to wars. Like she just mind her business and take care of her kids and make the little sprinkles thing that she be making. Like I don't get the hate. I don't get it. But I feel like that I don't know, maybe that's a part of life. Like when you really be trying to do good and like, be there for your family and they still together. Like they still together. They got kids, they got a family, like, and it seems like her, whatever. You could get into the specifics like, oh, that might not be her home that she filmed in or whatever. That all of that, like that shit don't matter. That I don't care about that. But I just feel like from what I see on the outside looking in, and then again, I'm not in her life. I don't know that lady. I don't know her husband or her kids or nothing like that. But from what I see on the outside, and I don't follow her like that either. So there could be things that I'm missing. But from what I've seen, I feel like she she's just a regular girl living her life. So why y'all hate her so bad? I don't get it. I don't understand it. Like let her cook for her kids and mind her business because that's all she do. Like, but whatever. But I don't know. I feel like even the non-problematic people be getting so much hate. So I don't know. Maybe it's a part of life. I don't care for that. But I just want to say shout out to the people who be showing love. Shout out to the people who support. Shout out to the people who you know, um, take the risks and help out. Yeah, that's that's a loaded conversation for another time. But I did briefly say, you know, again, I already said it. I already said it. But for me, like loyalty is simple. If you show that you're loyal to me, then I'm loyal to you. But don't play in my face. That's it. That's all it is. And that's with every friendship, every relationship, every circumstance, every situation. Like, you know, yeah. But and I'm at a point where I'm like, don't do the whole playing both sides shit. If you don't fuck with me, don't fuck with me. if you really, really don't care for me, and if I've ever said or done anything that really made you feel away, don't even act like a friend to me. Like, that whole frenemy shit, like, oh, we're friends, but we throw shade. Like, nah, keep that. Keep that because I'm solid. And if I don't like something, I'm going to tell you. If something like me this day and age, like I wasn't always like that. Like there was a point in time where I was like a little bit more passive. But now, like if something makes me uncomfortable, I'm going to speak to it, especially with people that I care about and people that I love. And if I feel like you gaslighting me or you trying to make me out to be crazy, but I know the vibes is off and I'm really trying to show up and do my best and show support and love. Yeah, that's it. Like, the whole like I'm manifesting into the world. I cast down all fakery. Dismantle this ideology and this whole coded language of fakery. If you don't like somebody, act like you don't like them. If you like somebody, act like you like them. The whole thing of being scared to support somebody, throw that away. If you like somebody, act like you like somebody and support them on 100. Because chances are, if you're not, you're scared of something. And maybe some people have some valid reasons to be upset or whatever the case may be. Fine. But like, miss me with the fake shit. If you don't like me, fine, don't like me and then stay acting like you don't like me. But if you do, then thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate the love. I appreciate the support and all those things. But and maybe for whatever reason, if a situation comes up or thing is said that maybe like made you uncomfortable or feel a wrong way about it, then like talk to me about it. Like that, and this whole like state of communication in this day and age is so fucking irritating. You know, because I feel like we be talking to each other in ebonics and hieroglyphic symbols, which I mean, I don't know, maybe that may be a native tongue. I don't know. But, instead of addressing the problem and being like, look, I had heard this. I'm not too crazy about it. Can you clarify? Rather than like, oh, I heard this. So now I'm going to attack. Like, bitch, you don't even know me. Like, you can know all these things, but you don't know me. You know what I mean? And like, in the words of Mariah, if there's something that you didn't like or didn't say, then come to me and talk about it and handle it like that. Like the whole thing of like being quick to attack and not even give space for explanation is corny to me. Like if you got a problem, say the problem. And then like, okay, and then we could talk about it. And if you don't like me, act like you don't like me. But the whole playing both sides, miss me with that. I don't care. Even if like if you support me, but you gotta act like you don't support me, don't support me. then don't. Then don't at all. And if you don't support me, but you're trying to act like you support me. I know some people do that just so they can get the clout and the notoriety or like your attention. Or like, if you're like a famous person or something. But yeah, miss me with that too. Like, nah, like I only have the time, space, and energy for things that feel genuine and fearless. Like I Lord, only align me with people who support me fearlessly. Only align me with the people who support me fearlessly. Because what's bad about supporting somebody that just wants to make inspirational music and bring love to the planet? Unless we're in a world where we're so consumed by the negativity that we're blinded by the positive. And there's such an abundance of positive. And it's to a point where you choose not to see the positive. But you gotta dig up capsules from 50 years ago. Yeah, 50 years ago. You might have been on Earth for 30 years, but you gotta dig up capsules from eons ago to be like, hold on, something ain't right. The math isn't mathing. And I'm like, if the math isn't mathing, then I feel like we need to do a better job at like course correcting rather than just like throwing away the baby in the bathwater. You know, don't throw away the baby with the bathwater. Just throw away the bathwater. But that is if you're giving a proper bath to a baby. I only say this because there's baby pictures of me when I was given a bath, real adorable. But yeah, that's a whole nother conversation for another time. Anyway, like I said, much love to everybody. I was on here a little bit longer than I wanted to be. I'm going to be creative now. This has been an interesting day just because it's a little rainy, it's a little chill. Angie's chilling. We're chilling right now. And I think it's cool to just like sit in the car and just like look at the rain. And I was like going over my music and I'm really proud of like I mean, the songs aren't done. Like, I still got to finish the collection of the body of work, right? And it's interesting being in a space where I'm like traveling and it's kind of like hard to like settle down in a space. And artists be doing this on tour too. Like, I don't know how artists be making albums on tour. Like, how? Like, but I feel like that only works when you got a budget and you can afford to like, um, you got a driver, you got a costume person, you got a team that have different roles. And then you could just chill on the bus and just like make your albums. But I am the driver. I am the like if you Lord, if you've seen this car. I mean, it looks crazy, but that's because like I'm such an elaborate artist and I do so many things. Like I'm the producer, the vocalist, the engineer, the mechanic of the car. I'm learning the ins and outs of how to like work this vehicle, which is cool. I'm never. It's not like I care to have those skills, but I don't mind it. I enjoy learning new things, and I do enjoy building too. Like I like at home when I would like I enjoy like building like my desk in my cousin's bed. She asked me to help her put it together and assemble the pieces and all those things. I'm learning about the car, how to like put things together, where certain things go. Like I enjoy learning the mechanics of a thing and like putting it together and putting and deconstructing it and stuff like that. Um, and I guess I don't know, maybe that's from like watching my dad. Like I will always see him working on a car. And not that I wanted to, but I always had the mindset that I could do anything. And even when my dad would jokingly be like, "Oh, you can't do that." And I'm like, "Yes, I can." Like, okay, yeah, a car is large, but like, so what? And yeah, I'm a woman, but I mean, the only thing is like I just don't know how to do what you do. But if I know how to do what you do, I could do what you do, you know? And I don't care to know about cars, but I mean, I'm just in a situation where it's better for me to know than to not know because sometimes you don't know if you could trust these mechanics out here. So you got to be the mechanic. And I'm not saying that I am, but Lord, don't let me say I'm an astronaut when I only been in space in 2 seconds. But I do enjoy learning the mechanics of how this works. I guess that's like my nerdy side, like living its best life. But yeah, I went on a tangent and I was talking about music. I was talking about the vibes of music. That's the point that I was trying to get at. I'm really proud of like where the progression of my music is right now. I still want to like experiment with my sound, which is what this live stream was about. The music, right, right, right. Okay. Um, but yeah, like I'm glad that I have like really like chill songs that are like a cool vibe that I feel like is the kind of music that you listen to like while it's raining. Um, i.e. like my slow chill songs. Yeah. Anyway, that's just a random musical side note. That wasn't like valuable information. But anyway. All right. I'm done talking to y'all people. Y'all be getting on my nerves. And but yeah, and I don't aim to offend. I'm just acknowledging my perspectives and opinions. And if people feel a way about it, before you go attacking, just express yourself because like what are we? Grown children out here like attacking people with no communication as to why, like, can we not do that? Because that's played out. And I feel like that ultimately will put y'all in fucked up situations. Like, like if you have a problem, like just speak to the problem. Like and am I on? I feel like this is me like living by example. Like, you know, I mean my way of like that is like, all right, if I don't like this content, I'm gonna block it. I'm not either gonna give you the time of day or give you my energy or respond how you probably want me to respond. Nah, just get off my algorithm. Get off my frequency. But this live stream, instead of like being so quick to attack, I'm like, let me just express how I'm feeling, just about the state of the world, about, life as an artist and just like how things can affect you as it pertains to like people supporting you or people not rocking with you or whatever the case may be. And, and really go through the points of how I feel and what it makes me feel. And then, if people feel away, then you know, you can express it with words rather than just attacking someone because you can. Because we should be better than that. All right. Much love, y'all. Have a good day.